So we move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is a certified nurse practitioner in both health and mental health. She has over 10 years experience helping people with physical and emotional health needs. She's known for being caring and respectful of different cultures, and she focuses on treating the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. She works with people with all ages and is committed to providing thoughtful and high quality care. Outside her regular work, she's passionate about teaching others about mental health and speaking up in communities to help break the stigma around it. Let's all welcome Mrs. Lilian Kordie.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. Thank you, Manuela. Thank you, Dr. Frimpong, for your discussion on depression. The statistics is staggering, is very informative. Thank you for teaching us about depression and everything you talked about this morning.
Thank you.
I'm going to continue the conversation, and I'm going to address the barriers that prevent many people from getting the help they need. In many of our communities, mental health stigma still runs very, very, very deep in our communities. Um, it's not just silence; it's shame. A lot of people have this stigma about mental health. Cultural beliefs that we have may frame depression as a personal failing or even spiritual weakness, as most of us know. In most of our Ghanaian communities or African American communities, there's a stigma for depression or mental health altogether. Um, it affects a lot of our minorities and immigrants. Most of those communities, we shy away from talking about depression or shy away from talking about mental health. And that in turn doesn't get us the help we need. Um, some of the cultural beliefs, other, African Americans or even Africans will say, if you tell somebody you're depressed or you have some mental issue, they'll probably tell you it's spiritual or it's a spiritual weakness or it's of the devil. So a lot of people will shy away from, coming up to say they're depressed or coming up to say they have some type of mental health issue. Back home where we're from, Ghana or Africa to be exact, we will say, oh, it's the devil that's upon this person. It's not mental health. We don't believe in mental health. So in order to reduce the stigma, we have to normalize mental health in our homes and our communities. Um, most African communities or most African American communities pretty much look up to like influencers, like our faith leaders, like our pastors, the elderly. So if we educate our pastors and the elderly about mental health and they talk about it maybe in our churches or communities and make people know that it is okay if they have mental health and it's okay to seek help, that will pretty much broaden people or normalize people to pretty much get the help they need when they need the help. Um, as far as treatment goes, there are several treatments, as Josephine mentioned. There's CBT, which is pretty much reframing somebody's thoughts on, depression or mental health. There are several things as far as, um, having people set goals like in their daily activities, like helping them during the time when they are down by helping them set goals, helping them have daily structures. Some physical activity will also help. At least like 30 minutes of exercise a day will help with people's mental health. As far as treatment goes, I think meditation also helps in addition to medication. Having, either yoga or meditation or mindfulness, those are some things that can help during, the time when somebody is depressed. Having a balanced diet, like a good meal, um, maybe like a Mediterranean diet will also be very helpful the time when somebody is depressed or when they have mental health issues. Sleep is also important because sometimes when your sleep is disrupted, you pretty much are not okay mentally. You get pretty much disorganized during the day, especially like in a day when the previous night you didn't have like a good night's sleep. You wake up and you're somewhat disoriented, somewhat don't know what to do. So sleep is very, very, very important. Trying to avoid caffeinated beverages is also something to look out for. Avoiding alcohol or caffeine, especially at night when we're going to sleep, is important to help us be able to sleep and to help our mental health altogether. Now, as far as going back to stigma, we have to be somewhat connected with our families and friends, joining groups and being able to talk to other people, like in the groups, if we are down, like finding a confidant in the group and talking to that person during a hard time or difficult time in life, either being depressed or having any kind of mental issue. It's important, like being part of groups, either at church or outside in the community, is important for our mental health. And we also have to limit, like, friendships that are negative, like people who are negative in our lives. We try to kind of gear away from them a little bit more and be around people who are like-minded. And if for any reason somebody comes up to you, I feel we shouldn't be judgmental. We have to be open, because a lot of us will pretty much shy away from that conversation and say, I'm going to be judged, so I'm not even going to talk about it. But, not being judgmental when somebody comes up to you to talk about their mental health and not telling the next person, because a lot of people will fear that, oh, this person will go tell the other person that this is what I told them, and I wouldn't appreciate that, so I wouldn't even bring it up altogether. And not bringing it up and pretty much somewhat suffering on their own will lead to worse depression and hospitalization, and it trickles down the line. Um, so like I said, we have to have our leaders, the pastors, the elders in the church, the elders in the community. We have to educate them about mental health. Let them know that it's not spiritual. Let them know that it's not the devil that has attacked that person, but to be open about it. In the churches, we should have like Sundays where we'll touch a little bit on mental health, even though we're preaching. We can add a little bit of that to the preaching and let people know that it is okay, if you have mental health issues, and give them resources, so that they'll be able to, come up to either the pastor or the elders in the church, open up to them, and they'll be able to help them in turn and not shy away from getting the help that they need. Um, Now, we also, in the same sense, have to know about like the warning signs, as Dr. Frimpong talked about. We have to know about the warning signs of depression. And even in our houses with our teenagers, with our kids, we have to be open with them. We have to talk to them about it, not wait to see signs even before we start talking about it. We have to be open and have the conversation even before it happens. They do teach mental health in schools sometimes, but we as parents have the obligation to also teach our kids about mental health, teach them about depression, teach them about anxiety, teach them about a lot of teenagers who cut, and we don't know why they're cutting, right? So we have to be proactive and teach our kids about mental health, and let them know that they should be able to come to us if anything is going on with them. Kind of like be vigilant and open our eyes and our minds and our ears and everything, and watch our kids, and help them when the help is needed, and not stigmatize and say, oh, it's nothing, just snap out of it, it's you'll be okay, you'll be fine, and brush it off. So those are the things that leads to worse depression, or the cutting, and not, God forbid, suicidality or killing themselves. And it's happening a lot with our teenagers. Social media is it's doing a bad number on most of our teenagers and the kids. So, you know, teaching our kids about these things, teaching our kids that it's okay if they're depressed. They should be able to come up to us and talk to us. Even if they're not able to talk to us, they can talk to, like I said, the elders or pastors in church or whoever that's like a little closer to the family, and they're able to build that confidence with them. Um, so we should let them know that if you're not even able to come up to me and talk to me about your mental health, you can talk to this person or that person, if you feel more comfortable talking to them. But I feel Helen being more open to mental health and telling our kids, even the elderly, most of them will say they're tough, there's nothing like depression. In their day, there was nothing like depression. They should snap out of it. But we have a lot of elderly folks who are also depressed, and because of the stigma, don't open up to it or think medication is the last resort. They wouldn't want to say it, and they'll say, oh, they're taking medications that are for crazy people, as they'll say. But we also have to watch our elders and talk to them if they are depressed, if we see signs that it is okay. And, there's always an option for therapy for them to get help and not, end up in the worst, which is suicidality, because that's also very prevalent in the elderly. I think that's pretty much it as far as the stigma goes. Thank you very much.